Well, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Sally, and this is Sally Stitches and my crafting channel that is mostly about cross stitching, but a lot of other things that I'm interested in too. If you're new here, my name is Sally. I am coming to you from Michigan, the Lower Peninsula to be exact. I live right here in a town called Midland, and I'm so happy that you were here to join us. So grab some cross stitching and let's start chatting all about it. So first off, I meant to make this video last week, but just through like all manner of I don't know, things that were going on. My husband was homesick. My son had like a little kind of not really emergency, but like a false alarm. I didn't get to filming. And so I've been thinking all weekend about what I want to talk about. And this morning it hit on me. Today I want to talk about joy. Specifically, the joy that we get when we create things, when we make, new things or try a new hobby or, just everything. I think it's really important to find things in your life that bring you joy, even if they might not bring other people joy, like mundane things. So I'm going to try not to get super philosophical. I made notes so that I don't just prattle on and on and on. But today I want to focus on joy. So here's one thing that brings me joy, and that is finishing pieces of cross stitch. And I have a finish to show you first. Here we go. Do you remember this? This is the Halloween Terrarium by Tiny Modernist. I stitched it on 36 count Jamie's Kilt by Fabrics by Stephanie. Here, let me get this board out so that we don't have a shadow. And I just think it turned out fantastic. I like the little ghosts and the bats on the top. I used all of the called for DMC colors for this. This frame right here is something that I got at Michael's, the arts and crafts store. It is a 7-inch hoop by Anchor brand. And it's weird. I actually had a different terrarium piece that I use this too. This looks like wood, but it's like a rubbery material, and then there's this deep channel that this piece sits on. And so I finished it just by kind of cutting a piece of muslin and then just sandwiching it through. I didn't lace the back because just the way the channel being so deep, it's hard to, it was hard for me to finagle the fabric. But that's okay, because the back is a secret between you and me. We're never gonna see it. So this brought me a lot of joy. I just set this in with my Halloween decorations for this week, and I'll probably leave my Halloween decorations up for maybe another week or so, and then I'm gonna get back into Thanksgiving vibes, I guess. So it brings me a lot of joy to finish things. The other thing that brings me a lot of joy is having long-term projects and then chipping away at them little by little. And I have several of those, and all of these you've maybe seen before. So we'll go ahead and just give you some updates on these. So this first one is 324 by Works by ABC. And look, it is too big for my cutting board now. I didn't plug the last 4 or 5 days in, but I think that I'm pretty close to about 40% complete. I just started in this top corner and I'm working my way back and forth in a zigzag. So down and then up and then down. And I'm very close to this being the top corner of the rest of the piece. So this is a design by Works by ABC. I'm using the called for DMCs, all 324 of them. And I've been doing 1 motif per day. And then sometimes on the days where I forget a motif, I'll do 2 the next day. So this is something that I really enjoy. I'm really happy that I've been keeping up on it and that I'm making incremental progress. It doesn't feel like it in the moment, but when I look at it every couple weeks when I film a Flosstube, I see some definite positive changes in this piece and it makes me really happy. Now, I know a lot of people started this as a stitch along, and I didn't realize this because I started mine in July, but a lot of people actually started it on March 24th, 2024, because 324. And I thought to myself, you know what would be fun is if I finish this by March 24th, 2025. And so I'm going to probably go into Markup RXP, which I've been using to track the pattern progress on this. And I'm going to do some calculations to see how many motifs I need to do. Like I might need to do like 2 motifs every couple days to make sure that I get it done on March 24th, 2024. So chipping away at something little by little. Very fun for me. Another thing that is fun, speaking of chipping away, is joining stitch-alongs, especially when you stay current on them. Now this is a stitch-along that I wasn't current on, and then I just ended up getting caught up. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before. I stitched up a storm and I got 2 clues done. And so here is my progress. I'm all caught up. This is the Arctic Animal Stitch Along by my very favorite designers, Amanda and Ashley of the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I'm stitching this from the kit that they sold. It is on 28 count Picture This Plus Nocturne, and it's this beautiful blue gray, kind of changes colors with the light, and I just really love it. The clues that I added since last I showed you this are this Arctic hare, which is, I think, my favorite clue so far. I love rabbits. I had a pet rabbit when I was a younger adult, and he was just like the cutest. I thought it was a girl rabbit, and then like when I took the rabbit to its 6-month well check at the vet, we found out it was a boy, and so I named the rabbit Beatrix Kiddo. And then when we found out it was a boy, we started calling him BB, and he was a good little rabbit. He died at like age 10, which is a pretty decently long life for a house rabbit, and they are just fun. They're like cats, but less mean. My cat's pretty mean. So the other thing that I added were these mountains and these little houses. There's a little smoke coming out of that. And then I'm very excited. Looks like November 10th is when the next clue drops. The next clue is somewhere in this area. So I'm hoping to get some cool sky fun. I don't know. I have no idea. Like, are there any flying Arctic animals? I don't know the answer to that. So joining stitch-alongs is a lot of fun. You get that like sense of community between, other stitchers. You get to see their progress, you get to see yours, you get to kind of like cry when people are disappointed, about like, I don't know, orienting their fabric incorrectly or whatever, and you get to celebrate when everyone, gets done and when they fully finish it. And so I really enjoy stitch-alongs. I wish that I could do a lot more, but there are like things that I want to stitch outside of stitch-alongs and I just don't have enough time. In fact, here are a couple stitch-alongs that I know about. They're both being hosted by Red, the Red-Headed Stitcher, who I just did that Halloween Terrarium stitch-along with. And she is doing in November, like No New Starts November, which I was like, yeah, I'm down for that. I've got a lot of works in progress I want to work on, but I also had like 8 million things I wanted to start. So I am not participating in that, but if that's up your jam, or up your alley, I guess, I would recommend checking out her Flosstube channel for details on how you can participate. In December, I think she's doing like a 12 starts of December. And so maybe we'll see. We'll see how busy I am with what I start here in November. And maybe I'm up for some more starts. We'll see. So I have made a lot of progress on a piece that I started this summer, and I'm really, really, really excited because I've just kind of hit like a really fun part of the pattern. And so let me show you this. I'm using a cutting board to kind of hold these up. I need to get a presentation board. Ta-da! This is Coffee and Eggs by the Artsy Housewife. I'm stitching this on 40 count fabric. This is Moonstone by Fiber on a Whim. And since I last showed this to you, I have gotten a lot done. I put this in the Markup RXP app, and I had like about 45% done, and then last night I just hit 75%. So that's very exciting. I added this little coffee mug, and I really am proud of the stitching. I'm using an overdyed floss. I think it's called Black Cauldron by Classic Colorworks. And so instead of stitching this way, I stitched up and down to kind of make it look shiny, like metallic, like a tin cup. And I think it looked really cool. And then I added this rainbow, and on this rainbow I made a mistake. I'm gonna own up to it. I actually made the rainbow 1 stitch too wide, and I noticed it when I had the pink. I started on the outside of the rainbow. And so I just continued to stitch the rainbow a stitch too wide, And I just made this center part like 5 stitches wide instead of 4 stitches wide. The reason it's too wide is I think I miscounted this branch, but it's not going to affect it. It's going to maybe be like 1 stitch over here, but being honest about my mistakes. And then last night I added the lady's face. Her name is Cheryl. The designer named her, but she's like Sally Jr. I stitched her face and her collar, and I got one of her giant eggs in her hand. So the next part I'm going to work on is her cardigan, and then I'll add her other egg hand. I didn't want to do this because I knew that I had made a counting error and I didn't want to mess up. So this has been a lot of fun. And I think that it represents my joy of kind of doing my own thing with my hobby, right? I mean, I'm not doing my own thing like literally. This is a pattern and I'm following the instructions. I'm very good at following instructions. That's why I like to cross stitch, right? But this isn't part of any kind of stitch along. This is just something that really spoke to me as a stitcher, and I really wanted to make it for myself, and I am doing it. And I just think it's a lot of fun. So it's bringing me joy. So what do you like? What brings you joy when you work on a hobby? Is it like the progress you make on pieces? I definitely say that that is part of it. You know, or are you more like a process person where you don't really care if you finish anything? You just enjoy the process, the mechanical movements of stitching, the calm, the little serotonin boost you get, being able to kind of clear your mind, and just focus on something for a period of time. There's process stitchers and there's progress stitchers. I would say I'm probably a little bit of both. I like finishing things, but I also like having a lot of works in progress. So in fact, I use an app. I've talked a little bit about the Markup app, and I'll show you. I'm going to pop these up. I just got a new iPad. My husband gave this to me. He earned a bunch of points in like a work well-being program, and he looked at the little catalog to redeem them, and he didn't see anything that he really wanted, but he knew that my old iPad was kind of laggy, and so he ended up ordering me this iPad, and it's not laggy anymore, and I'm really grateful. I was like, oh, he loves me. So I'm keeping the old iPad as a backup in case my son's iPad breaks, because it's still a good iPad. It just was a little slow on the internet. So this is my Markup RXP like homepage, I guess. This page right here are all of the things that I'm currently working on. And then I have another page for things that I've kitted up. And I don't have all of my kits in because some of these I have to manually input. And then I have a part for things I finished. And so I've really enjoyed using this. It's changed how I look at pieces. For one thing, I found out I am bad at estimating sizes of pieces because I've seen 2 pieces that I think are like really, really close to the same size. And then it turns out that one is like twice the size of the other one. And so it's not all about like the total area on the fabric, it's about the stitch count. And so I like being able to count stitches. I also like being able to split up like stitches by the floss color. This really came in handy, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it when I discuss the project later. But there was something where I had to do floss calculations to see if I would have enough floss. And so knowing how many stitches of that color were needed really helped me make a good decision. So yeah, that was the Markup app, and that's something that I've really enjoyed using. But I wanted to show you the other app that I've used that I've really gotten a lot of enjoyment out of this year, and that is an app, and it is called Tiny Decisions. And if you follow, there's Chelsea of Sound Mind Stitching. She talked about this too in a Flosstube over this weekend I watched. But what I've done is I have listed all of my works in progress on this wheel. And so anytime I need some inspiration, what I can do is I can tap this wheel, and I like to tap it a bunch, maybe count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what it'll do is it'll choose one of my works in progress and tell me what to work on. So today it wants me to work on my skipjack sampler that I started this summer. So this is something that when I do a spin on the wheel, what I want to do is I want to like commit to doing 3 days of continuous work on that same project. And I've found that that has allowed me to like kind of jumpstart some projects that I really had been like neglecting for a while. And I finished some, and that's been really cool. I finished Under the Sea by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery this summer because of this whip wheel. I finished a giant Halloween wreath that I showed you in my last video because I like just really was dedicated to that. And so I spun the whip wheel this weekend because I was kind of feeling overwhelmed. I've been working pretty, like, I wouldn't say monogamously, but like I've had like 3 or 4 projects that I've been focusing on simultaneously, and just those 3. And I was kind of like thinking, I want to start something new, but Sally, you have all these whips. And so when I spun the whip wheel this weekend, I ended up, it landed on a piece that I started about 2 years ago. And I made some pretty decent progress, and I'm excited because I kind of want to keep stitching on it right now. This is The Animal House by Satsuma Street. And so before this 3-day period, I had this little part of the house built with this trim and then part of this little wall here. And what I did was I was able to add this whole part of the building and the giraffe. And then I started with the next little like turret that's going to be here. And then there's like a windmill thing. What are those things called? The roosters, a weather vane, you know, on that piece. I love these colors. This is just a natural like linen. It's a 28 count. And then I'm using the called for DMCs for this design. And I'm really glad it came up because Jody of Satsuma Street did a Halloween stitch along this year, and it was like a haunted house. And so it had very similar vibes to this. And I really wanted to do it, but I was like, Sally, you can't have 2 unfinished giant house pieces going at the same time. And Sally of the past was right. I'm going to finish this one first, and then maybe for next Halloween I can do the other one. What I really like about this piece is that it is very reminiscent of like some of the vintage like crewel work pieces that I've seen in like antique stores of the 60s and the 70s. The colors, the natural linen. I really like this piece, and I've been very excited to work on it. And so this has joined my rotation of projects that I'm working on, you know, in the next couple days. And hopefully by the next time we meet, I'll have some more stuff to show you with it too. So, okay, forgive me because I have some thoughts and I wrote them on my handy iPad here. So let me talk about it. Okay. One thing I want to mention, and I think I did like a little insert here, is because I just was kind of feeling a little overwhelmed by the number of things I was working on, I ended up putting one of my pieces away for now. I added it to my whip wheel, and then I put it in my whip bin. And that piece is 1844 Lady Man, which I showed you last time. Now, I do think it's going to be a quick finish when I get there. I just am not feeling it right now, and that's okay. Sometimes when you are seeking joy, you need to recognize that the things that aren't bringing you joy, like, need to be just kind of tucked away for a bit. Now, that's different than like being willfully blind, you know. This is like very low stakes. I'm talking about cross stitch here. But, you know, just like, it's okay to kind of tuck things that just are like kind of dragging you a little bit. Just tuck them away. They'll still be there when you're back, ready for it again. And I think that, you know, I definitely do this with seasonal stitching. Like, I will stitch all the fall and Halloween stuff. And then once Halloween's over, I'm like, I'm over it. I don't really feel like stitching it. Same with Christmas stitching. I did stitching in July, like Christmas in July this year. And that was actually really challenging because I wasn't feeling it. It was like very hot out. I wasn't feeling Christmas vibes at all. But now I am. And let's talk a little bit about things that are coming up next. So 1 second. Hey, I'm back. I got a phone call from my son's teacher about a school thing. And so what was I talking about? I was talking about joy. And here's one thing that brings me joy is drinking drinks out of my fancy vintage juice glasses. These are Moon and Star glasses. And I could drink out of a normal glass, but it's kind of fun to have a fancy glass. So let's get back into it. So I've talked about different sources of joy so far. And what I brought up were, you know, finishing things. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. Chipping away at projects little by little. Tucking away the overwhelming stuff. And now I want to talk about joining communities. And specifically I want to talk about stitch alongs because there are a couple that I'm very excited to start this month. I mentioned briefly last time that I was going to sign up for the Jingle Ball. If you aren't aware, the Jingle Ball is like an online retreat that happens the first weekend in December. I'll put the website, but it's like thejingleball.net, you know, and the tickets are only $10, you know, for entry. And then you can do a lot of like meet and greets and chat rooms with other people, and that's fun. And I like that that's like a pretty affordable price. A lot of the teachers, or a lot of the designers that are involved, there are 12 of them, offered classes. And some of these classes you could buy the kits, and then sometimes if you couldn't buy the kits, they were still offering just the PDF of the pattern and you could make your own kit. And so I signed up for 2 classes, and I wanted to show you what I've signed up for. So I couldn't not sign up for the Frosted Pumpkin Stitcheries class. They have a pattern that they came out with called Bryson Bentley Badger, and it's a little pattern. It's about 2,600 stitches, and the class is going to involve doing like a flat finish. And I ordered the kit for that, and I'll show you what I got. So first off, let me show you the progress. I didn't even take it out of the hoop. So I have about 40% of the pattern done. It's an oval shape. It's going to be about this big. And it's Bryson Bentley Badger, and he's going to be like doing some art stuff because he is a painter. The fabric that came in the kit is Valor by Picture This Plus. This is the crystal version, so we got some sparkles in it. And then I have the rest of the kit box here, and I'll just open it up to show you what else was in here. And this is a big mess because I've been using this in lieu of a project bag, and so I have all of my like messy floss mess in here. So they made a little floss card, which I did not use, and I've just been using the flosses. These are all called for DMC colors. There are about, let's see, 13 colors in this pattern, so not too bad. For finishing it, they designed a special print using spoonflower petal fabric. And this is the print. So you can see it's got some mistletoe, just like the design, and some paint tubes and some paint brushes. And the colors are really, really nice with the actual design. Like, very cool. So this fabric is big enough to do the whole finishing project, which is going to be like a flat fold. So like that little like thing where you finish like 2 flats and then you put them together like the roof of a house so that you can leave it on a, you know, a tabletop. And I just think it's gonna be fun. I've never actually finished anything using a flat fold technique. And so that'll be fun for me. They also included the trim. Like this is a chenille trim by Lady Dot Creates. The colorway is Musket. I've never used chenille trim either, so that'll be new for me. And then the kit box also included the finishing boards. These are pre-cut, so that'll be nice and neat and all the same size. So, and then needles. Oh, the needle minder, I didn't show it to you, but this is a needle minder that came in the kit. Isn't it cute? And then some really cute stickers, which is fun because I have a sticker album, a sticker collection. And so we got a paint palette, and then Sugarloaf and Jack with art supplies, and then a paint tube. So all in all, it was a very nice kit, and I've had a lot of fun. I just started it this weekend. I was actually going to wait and start it like after I did my video with you, and I didn't because I just couldn't wait any longer, you know, so there we go. I've really made a lot of good progress though, so that'll be good. The other class that I signed up for is Janine McGowan of the Blue Flowers class, and this was one I did not get a kit for, and so I kitted it up on my own. I ordered the PDF of the pattern, and I went ahead and printed it so that you can see it, and this is called Festive Forest. Isn't that cute? So it is a 6-sided hexagon-shaped finish. Let me see if I can show you the top of it without getting too much with the colors. With these trees and then animals. It's actually very similar to another pattern that I purchased at StitchCon over the summer, which is Bees in the Greenhouse. So it's that same like hexagon finish. Oh, here is a good picture. So this is like how you actually stitch it. And then you would sew all these little corners together to make that finish. So I ended up kitting both Festive Forest and Bees in the Greenhouse because I'm going to use the same fabric. Now the fabric that is called for is a, let me see what it says, a 32 count cypress by Fiber on a Whim. And I found the perfect piece of it. I went to Top Knot Stitcher, which is one of my favorite needlework stores, and she had a 17-inch by 17-inch piece of it, like a remnant. So not quite a half yard, but perfect for my devices because I think I can split this in half. And I can do like, I bet you I can do like one of the pieces on this half and then the other piece on the other half. So I can have both of them using the same fabric. Now, Bees in the Greenhouse was really easy to kit up because that was originally designed for the Houston Embroideries Guild 50th anniversary. And so it was like designed as a DMC only project. And so I got all of the DMCs and I put them on this floss card thing. This is actually a Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery one, but it was free. And so I've got all these beautiful colors. Let me get the fabric. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty. I like that. The other one was a lot harder to kit up though. So there's a mix. There are DMC colors, there are Weeks Dye Works, there are Cottage Garden Threads, which is an Australian floss dyer, and then there's Roxy Floss, which was a Canadian dyer. And so this piece ended up being very international, but I got them all. I ended up using these floss bobbins for the DMCs. These are from Adam Hart Cross Stitch, and I got these in like a subscription box. Then I've got my Weeks, and then I ordered the Roxys. Very pretty. I like these colors a lot. They're so pretty. And then I ended up not getting the Cottage Garden Threads, and so I subbed in the DMCs for these. But then my friend Susan, who on Instagram is the Blue Crab Stitcher, is also doing this and got the kit. And because we used Markup to figure out how many stitches each piece needed, she ended up splitting her floss. So she gave me some of the Cottage Garden flosses. And so what I think I'll do, because I am stitching this on 32 count and we're not sure this is enough. And she offered to send me more. And I was like, oh, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do one strand of the fancy floss and one strand of the DMC, you know, for those particular elements, depending on if I think I need to. Some of these pieces are like, I think one of those Cottage Garden Threads is used for like the antlers on the deer. And so I might actually have enough floss. So anyway, this is going to be my next new start. I'm going to finish Bryson Bentley Badger first, and then I'll go ahead and I'll start these. Now this is a bigger piece. It's 11,000 stitches. So it's like 4 times the size of Bryson Bentley Badger. Am I going to finish it before the Jingle Ball? No, I will not. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun just for winter stitching. I like that it is more of a seasonal, like winter vibe than like, you know, Christmas specific. So I should still want to stitch on it, you know, as winter progresses. And so there we go. My friend Sarah from Sarah's Stitchery, and then her friend Sarah W from Handmade by Sarah W is doing like an official stitch along for Hands On Designs Winter Folk. And I will get the hashtags and I'll pop them in the window because I don't recall them off the top of the head. But I have stitched all 3 of the other designs here. I stitched spring and I stitched autumn and summer. In fact, I still have the patterns for these. So these are swappable. Like you stitch the long skinny thing, and then this board is a separate piece, and it's all held together by magnets. I got the first one, which was the Autumn Folk, for the Chantel's 141 Pep Rally in 2020, like last year. So 22, was that 22? No, it's 23. This is 2024, right? Yeah. So the 2023 Pep Rally, that was the featured design that we all did as a pre-stitching, and then we finished it and got our boards at that Pep Rally. And so it's been really fun as spring and summer and winter were released to have those to just kind of add. And then this is going to complete the set. So here it is in a little closer. So all 4 of these patterns use the same fabric, which is 32 count driftwood by Fabrics by Stephanie. And so I just ended up buying like a half yard of it, and then I've been cutting strips, and I have plenty for the last pattern. They all use this number 12 pearl cotton, which I, you just need one. That's enough for all 4 of the patterns. And then this is using like a selection of DMCs. And so I pulled DMCs from my stash, and I think I had to buy like 1 or 2. What's really fun is that the finishing, like the model, has a Lady Dot Creates trim in Bird's Nest, and I ended up having it in my stash. So here it is. My friend Lynn gave this to me. She gave everyone a little piece of rickrack when we went on our little retreat in March. And so that's fun for me to use something that my friend gave me for my project. So bringing me some more joy. Lots of stitch alongs. Sorry that I can't participate in No New November because I am all about the new things. However, because we're getting into seasonal stitching, and seasonal stitching brings me so much joy, I thought I would just show you like a mini like brief WIP parade of things that I have started that are seasonal that I think that I want to kind of put some more stitches in, if not finish. And these are in no particular order. I just pulled them out of my WIP bin when I was putting 1844 Lady Man away. And I didn't iron any of them, so they're going to be messy. But the first one I want to do is this one. This is a series that was part of the Jingle Ball from previous years. These are by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. These are all being stitched on 28 count alchemy. And I've finished Coulter the Fox and Clementine the Fox. And these characters are in a relationship with each other because there's a rich fandom for these animals. And I am such a nerd about it, but they have a nephew, and that is this pattern right here. This is called Cooper's Christmas Wish, and it was released for the Jingle Ball last year. And I really, it's only about 2,000 stitches. I really want to just finish it. And then I want to fully finish all 3 of these so I can display them. I actually think even though these are very, very holiday coded, I've had this idea of putting a little woodland critters cross stitch display wall, gallery wall in my hallway in the bedroom hallway. And these would be something that I would just keep out every year. Maybe with those terrariums that I've been stitching, like the fall terrarium that I just finished last time. And there's just a lot of animal themed stitches that I could probably put all together. Actually, there's another one by Blue Flower. I'll try to get a photo of it, but it's called Forest Home. And that would be a good woodland critter piece too. And so that's something that I just really, there's no need to drag my heels on it. I just need to make the time to do this. Another Christmas themed piece that I have that I just recently realized I'm almost halfway done because I put it into Markup RXP is by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery again, and it is called Christmas on Gingerbread Lane. And here it is. So I have, there are 3 houses, and then there is a foreground with snowmen and gingerbread men and girls ice skating and people drinking hot cocoa, and it's very cute. And so this is something that is stitched on Crystal Ale, I think. Yeah, Ale by Picture This Plus, 28 count. It's another sparkly, Edward Cullen sparkle. And I've been just kind of stitching on it for a couple holiday seasons in a row. So I would really like to maybe hit either a 75% off, 75% benchmark, or, finish it. And that would be spectacular. This is one that I got for a little mini retreat I did 2 years ago. Yeah, and this is the Friendstitch Glad Tidings Gathering Great Joy. Friendstitch is a partnership between Heart and Hand, Needle Art, and Bent Creek, and they made this pattern together. And here's the pattern folio. So it's a long skinny. And I'll show you where I am. I did put this in Markup RXP recently, and I found out I'm about 1/3 of the way done. I started on one corner and I made my way. So there we go. I'm stitching this on a 28 count fabric by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. The name of the fabric is Chai Love You. It's a very brown toned thing because this is a very brown toned project. There is a bunch of different Classic Colorworks flosses for these. Here is the floss bundle. Very askew. Yeah, it looks like it's all Classic Colorworks. And the floss came with the pattern in the kit, the retreat kit, but we had to supply our own fabric. And I think the called for fabric was Vintage Country Mocha. And I just was like, I will use stash fabric because I don't have any Vintage Country Mocha. I know it's a very popular like Zweigart color. I've never stitched on it, but I hear it's great. I hear Mushroom Lugana is also really a really nice fabric. So the last holiday themed stitch along that I have that's just kind of been languishing is also a Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery stitch along. Man, for being such a fan of theirs, I sure am not finishing much of their stuff, huh? What is wrong with me? Let me get my cutting board so that I can kind of display this here. It's buried because these are Snowglobes and these are stitched on perforated paper. And so I have the little fox and I have the little reindeer and I have a little penguin and then I have a little nothing because I need to work on this one. This is actually upside down because I always start at the top of the snow globe. This is going to be a little bear. And the reason I think that I've been just like holding off on this is because I was scared about finishing these because these are going to be like little ornaments that I put on my tree. And I'm worried that they're going to be fragile because they're stitched on the paper. And then also the stitching on the paper itself is difficult sometimes. I tend to stitch like using kind of like a sewing motion. So I make one motion where I will dip my needle in and then up like all at once. But you can't do that with perforated paper because you bend it. And so you got to poke down, pull it through, poke up, and then pull it through. It really helps to use like smaller lengths of floss because the floss really takes a beating because these edges of these little holes that are punched out are not soft like the weave of a fabric, you know? So there's a lot of friction and it can cause like just fuzzy thread, fuzzy floss when you don't want it to be fuzzy. It's just a lot more slow going. So even though I maybe only have about 1,000 stitches left on this project, it feels like 3,000 stitches because it's taken me like 3 times as long to stitch each motif. But this has been a long time coming. My friend Rebecca from Beck Stitches Everything does a lot of Mill Hill finishing kits. And she did a tutorial that really inspired me because I was like, I can finish this like that. I've also seen some tutorials where people will do like a double-sided thing. And I was thinking, oh man, maybe I should do that. Like put like one of these ornaments on one side and the other on the other side because they're all exactly the same dimensions. So like sandwich them like that and make them like a double-sided thing. I don't know, possibilities. I think I'm probably gonna just use like either some card backing or maybe some felt. And yeah, I need to do it. So anyway, holiday season definitely is bringing out like a lot of fun opportunities. I'm hoping that by having kind of a mix of holiday projects to look forward to and these new stitch alongs and the things that I've been working on that have been bringing me joy, I'm gonna have a lot of fun stitching. So let me get my notes out and hold on a second. Take a little sip of my fancy drink. Oh, I talked a little bit about joining the community with stitch-alongs. I also want to let you know I signed up for some like in-person stitch-alongs too. Now, I have already mentioned that I am planning to attend weekend A of StitchCon next year. I'm very excited. I have a friend that I'm hoping that we're gonna room together, Allie. You know, no pressure though, no pressure if you decide you don't want to do it. But and then I signed up for 2 more. So I definitely knew I was going to sign up for the Chantel's 141 Pet Rally in the fall. Robin Pickens is going to be the guest designer. It's very close to my house. It's only about an hour and a half away. And I've really enjoyed the 2 that I've gone to. And so I definitely was just waiting and waiting and waiting to sign up for that. And then for some reason, I don't do a lot of Facebook, but I joined their Facebook group, the Chantel's 141 Facebook group, and I found out she's actually hosting 2 retreats this upcoming year. And so I signed up for the other one too. The spring retreat is happening the first week of May, so kind of right before my daughter's birthday, and maybe even the same weekend as Stitch North. But because it's close by, I don't feel bad about like leaving town right before my daughter's 16th birthday, like I would have if I had like gone internationally, like to Canada for Stitch North. But that one's really going to be exciting. Nicole Spohr, who I've talked about on this channel before, she has a fantastic YouTube channel, is going to be the guest designer for that one, and I'm very excited to see her. I actually met Nicole in person at the first Chantel's retreat, the 2023 one. She was just there as like an attendee, and I didn't really know much about her YouTube channel at that time, and then like she had brought some beautiful finishes for her like display channel, so I knew that she was like legit, like really talented. And then I found out she had a YouTube channel, and then she was so encouraging because I was like, you know, someday I'd like to start a YouTube channel. And she said to me, you should do it. You have great content. Because I've been posting a lot of stuff on my Instagram. And those words really stuck with me, and I did it. And I'm really having a lot of fun doing it. And so I'm just so grateful, and I'm very excited to go to that retreat too. So, oh man, I feel like I've been doing this for hours because I've had to cut in and out. So let me gather my thoughts again. We've talked about just a lot of different joyful things. And I've talked about, you know, finishing things, chipping away little by little, tucking away the overwhelming stuff, joining a community. Okay, and the next thing I had was technical challenges. So I love technical challenges. They're like a little puzzle. So like a technical challenge is like maybe trying a new skill that you've never tried before, or solving a problem like with the construction of a piece. And actually, I don't have as many technical challenges with cross stitch as I do with other crafts, because cross stitch is like basically following directions. Sometimes you have like a color choice or like a floss management issue. Like, are you going to run out of floss? What do I do? One thing that, like, when I think of technical challenges is if you stitch with something that has like a textured floss, like, I don't know if you've ever seen that like fuzzy stuff floss. I find it very difficult to work with. It's hard to pull through the fabric because it's like a little thicker because it's so fuzzy. And one thing that I've done in the past is I've gotten like a same color like DMC regular floss. And so when I use fuzzy stuff, and I'm planning to do it because I have an Easter chick thing I'm going to stitch later this year. What I'll do is I'll stitch the bottom leg of the stitch with the standard DMC floss, and then I'll only stitch the top leg with the fuzzy floss. And that is so much easier because you have just like that thickness is like less difficult to manage. It's less tangly. It's still a pain. I really dislike that fuzzy floss, but boy, the effect when you have it done is so pretty, especially if you take like a clean toothbrush and you kind of like mess up the fibers to make it like really floofy. So that is a technical challenge I can think of that would be like a cross stitch related thing. I have had a lot of technical challenges with my yarn crafts, and so why don't I show you, because I've actually made quite a bit of progress on things. So I've been working on and off on the Wildrose market bag, which is a pattern by All About Ami or Stephanie Lau. And guess what? I am very close to being finished. Ta-da! So since we talked last, I seamed all of the little blocks together. So there were 13 individual blocks. And then what I had to do was I had to start working on the handle. And the handle is done in 3 parts. So there's 2 handles for this piece, and you can see I'm not quite done. The first thing you do is you go around and you make the handle, and then you go around and you make the handle. And then you just keep going around, and as you're doing that, you're building this edging up right here. And then you're building that handle too. However, when you like get there, your handle is really skinny because it's like I've built the edge on this side, but then this part, there's no edges that have been built. And so I finished it on this side where I went ahead and I went around and around to kind of fill in and make the edging more uniform here. But all I have left to do is on this side, I have to add this side completely, and then my bag will be done. So I've got a skinny handle and then I've got a longer handle. Now, the technical challenge with this is not the actual like construction, because it's pretty easy to just go around and around in a spiral. It's this particular stitch is really hard on my hands. This is a stitch called a waistcoat stitch, and you can kind of see it looks different. It's like a series of little V's. It's blurry. So how you do a waistcoat stitch, the easiest way to describe it is like when you do a regular single crochet, you are just crocheting through these top little loops that are like laying right on the top edge. I need like a little pointer or something, but like these loops right here, front and back, that's what you do when you do a regular single crochet. However, when you do a waistcoat stitch, you are actually stitching between these two post stitches, and that's really hard. Like sometimes I have to take a sewing needle and kind of like poke a hole through the post stitches just to kind of give myself a place for like the hook to go. I've actually had a lot of challenges with my hands. I raked my leaves and I use gloves, but even though I had gloves, I really hurt my hands. I have like huge blisters on the webbing of both my hands. They're like so gross, I don't even want to show you. But it has caused a lot of trouble because every time I use my thumbs, like it cracks and reopens and it sucks. I hate it. It does not bring me joy. So what I've been doing is I've been trying just really hard to just kind of take it slow. I worked on this edging pretty much all weekend, and I just did like 2 little rounds a day, and then I would put it away. And now I only have like 4 rounds left total. So today I will start filling in this side, and then tomorrow maybe I'll finish it, and then I'll have it finished to show you next week. And then, you know, things like, you know, it's kind of curly. What it really needs is just to like be hung on a doorknob for a couple days to kind of like get the drapiness that it'll have. And then I'll have a bag, and I'm really excited. I'm going to put it in my car in my like grocery crate, and I'll use it. I'll use it for groceries because this is a nice firm bag. I made this out of cotton yarn, and that's the other thing too. Cotton yarn does not have stretch like wool fibers do. So that is also hard on my hands because it's like I'm like really having a hard time getting through those tight stitches. But it makes a great bag because I can hold like a lot of stuff in this bag, and it'll be like very, very sturdy. So that's technical challenge number 1. Technical challenge number 2 is with the Heirloom Cardigan sweater that I've been working on. And I've made a tremendous lot of progress. Let me show you where I am right now. Ta-da! This is the back. This is the front. I have added a edging on the neckline, and I've added the bottom edging. Let me put it on my body. This is poor like angle here because there's not really a lot of room for me. I don't want to knock my fancy cup down. But okay, let me move you back. Kind of give you like an idea. So here we go. It's a cropped cardigan. It doesn't have sleeves yet. I need to knit the sleeves still on both sides. But there have been a lot of technical challenges here. For one, I think that before I do any more stitching, what I need to do is I need to block it. And that is because when I did the edging, I did like a crocheted edge just to kind of like, you know, kind of actually fill in some issues I was having with these corners not lining up on these 2 ribbed edges. But I feel like it's made this edging very wobbly and kind of wrinkly, like a record that is melted in the sun, I guess. The other thing too is I had to sew all these little square patches together, and I feel like there's just like, you know, even though I was like sewing stitch by stitch, it's like bumpety. Like, you know, you feel like it's like the equivalent of ironing needs to happen to this. You would pull the edges out, really make sure that it is like fitting how you designed it to fit, and then you can add the sleeves. And so that is my plan. I'm going to block it later today. I don't know if you've ever like knitted and wet blocked something before, but maybe I'll bring the camera and I'll show it to you. It's really easy. It just involves like getting it really wet and then laying it out to dry. And then hopefully it dries way flat and less wrinkly. Like see how it's like, you know. Knitting is really like, what I like about the challenge is like, it's really easy to learn from your mistakes with knitting. Like anything I do on this, if I don't like it, I can rewind it. I can pull all this edging out and I can reuse the yarn and I can redo it. I don't want to, which is why I'm going to try to block it first. You know, pretty much the only thing that I'm worried about is I'm worried because this is a cropped sweater. If I raise my sleeves, will it pull the sweater up too high, you know, like into my underarm? And so I learned a lot about sleeve construction, just like reading some articles. And one thing, like I learned, I follow this like costume lady. She's not a knitter, but she does sewing. Her name is Bernadette Banner. And she did a whole thing on sleeve gussets, like how in olden times, people would add extra fabric to like an underarm to allow you to, you know, raise your arm and have more freedom of movement. So I was looking up knitting gussets, and I found out that that's a thing that exists. What you can do basically is you knit like a diamond shape, and then you can insert that into your seam, and then you have that like extra little like triangle of fabric. I will see if I can link the article I read. It's a technical knitting article that I found very informative, and it gave me some inspiration for maybe knitting a little diamond and then reworking the seam to add an underarm gusset to each side. So right now, the side seams are just 2 blocks that are sewed together, and I sewed them about halfway to make the armhole. So what I would do is I would remove the seam down maybe here, and then I would add a diamond to add more space, and then I would add my sleeve. Now, this works better, I think, when the sleeves are knitted flat, and I was going to knit my sleeves in the round, like a spiral. And so I might try some funky, like increase, decrease action to make this like a hybrid, like where I sew the bottom triangle of the diamond into the seam I have, and then I do some decreases and just knit in the round with decreases to make the top part of the diamond. I haven't decided. Otherwise, what I'll do is I will knit the sleeve front and back to allow for a diamond, you know, to be inserted in, and then I'll just sew a little diamond in. I don't know, this is new. It's a technical challenge. It's bringing me joy because it's been getting my mind thinking about it, and yeah, so stay tuned, we'll see. But why don't we go ahead and we'll go over to my sink and we'll get this started with the blocking right now. Let's spend 3 minutes or so watching me struggle with blocking my sweater. So you're going to need some water that's lukewarm in a big bowl, and then I'm adding some no rinse Eucalan soap. There's another brand called Soak that is also great, but it's not super sudsy, and I like the grapefruit scent. For the water, you don't want it to be too hot or too cold, because if it's too hot, it can make the dye run, and I don't want that. So now that the bowl is full, let's squish it in. Kind of reminds me of that part in Sleeping Beauty where Fauna is making the cake and it all squishes together like that. But you want to get all of the sweater saturated. In fact, you want to leave it in the water for about 15 minutes so that we're getting all of those fibers loose and wet. And then I wrap the sweater in a towel and I try to squeeze out as much water as I can, mostly by doing a little like grape stomp dance right on top of the towels. And then it's ready to block. I am gonna go get my blocking pins, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just speed run this. So for this is not the final block of the sweater. We are going to block it when it has sleeves. What I'm doing right here is I'm just making sure that my edging is no longer crinkly and that the squares are mostly kind of straight, not wibbly wobbly. So I basically am kind of folding it into a flat rectangle, and then I'm using these blocking pin things to just kind of hold it that way so that it'll stay that way as it dries. I'm hoping that this will help me get a little extra length on my sweater, and also it'll make the borders look a lot nicer. So here's some music while I finish up. And now I'm ready to move this mat into another area to dry, probably under my bed. See you in a little bit. So now that I'm like close to being like done with 2 different yarn projects, I want to start a new one. But I did just recently do a WIP wheel for my knitting projects. I have 10 knitting and crochet projects that are like things that have been just kind of like piled up under this table that I am seated next to. And so I ended up spinning the wheel and I ended up picking 2, and then I thought you could help me decide which of the 2 I start working on next. One is a knitting project and one is a crochet project. So I'll show you the knitting project first. So this is a shawl, and the name of the pattern is The Joker and the Thief. And you can see I have left all of my yarn tails for every color change. So maybe just one of the works in progress things I do is I weave in all those yarn tails, right? So I am stitching this with yarn by a company called Wonderland Yarns. This was a set of like sock yarn weight. They call that Cheshire Cat, but it was like an ombre set. And so every one of these stripes is a different yarn ball here. And then the whole shawl, I almost said scarf. The whole shawl is like a boomerang shape. So it's like what you're doing is you're increasing on this side and you're decreasing on this side, and you're gonna end up with kind of like a curvy triangle when you're done. I love shawl knitting. I think that's a really nice like yarn buster thing. There's a lot of ways you can do like some cool technical stitching. And I think it would be really fun to have this project done. And it's purple. And I guess I've been going through like a purple thing because the last like several knitted things I've had have been like purple. So this is option 1, my knitting project. Now option 2 is a crochet project that has been going on for like literal years because it's big. And this is a blanket. And the blanket is by a designer named Kirsten Bellering. She goes by Hakma Rock. She's from the Netherlands, and she has a really cool blog of like free patterns. And this is a pattern that I started a while ago, and it's called the Origami Blanket. And I'll show you what I've got so far, if I can scoot back. It's very wrinkly. I'm using a yarn called Metropolis, which is a wool yarn. So I can steam this and have it not be wrinkled. But we start on one edge with these like beautiful yellows and golds, and now we're moving into pinks. And I'll show you what I've got here. So it's basically like rows of 10 squares, and each of the squares are double, like 2 colors. So this is the bottom, here's the top. So this is the next row. And so what I do is I will crochet a square, and then I'll crochet the next square, and then I'll put them together, and then I'll start weaving these 8 million ends, because each square is going to have like at least 4 yarn ends plus the yarn ends for sewing them together. And then when I get a row that is the width of the whole blanket, then I attach it to the blanket. And it takes me, I want to say, about half hour or so to knit one of these squares, and then another 15 minutes to do like the sewing and the like just the finishing part. And so this is kind of like a nice like finish as you go project. You can see that this part right here, this is the back side of it, I have woven in all those little yarn tails for this, except for the one right here, which I will do because every so often I'll like just like set a timer for an hour and I'll be like, yarn tails, get rid of all of them, because I do not find that to be something that brings me a lot of joy. So the weaving the ends, but it is definitely better to do on the way out. So this is project option A, project option B. Let me know in the comments what you think I should work on, crochet or knit, and then we'll get some stitches on that, and that'll be like my new big knitting project. I also have my other project that I have been plugging away on. I'll give you an update. This is my car project. I call it my car project because I've got like a little slice of time between picking up my son from middle school and my daughter from high school that I can, just have knitting in my car and work on it, because it's a pattern that I just know by heart. And that is this. It's a unicorn stripe scarf. And I'm doing it with some very tiny skeins of Madeline Tosh sock yarn. She calls them unicorn tails. Here's the next one that I'm going to add when I'm finished with this color. How this scarf works is it's actually a tube right now, but when I get like a little bit like further along on this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to seam the edges of this together, and that way the front of the scarf and the back of the scarf will have the same pattern, and it'll be like really nice and squishy, like because it'll be double-sided. I think this is a really fun project, and I like that it just fits in my little bag that fits in my purse, and I can take it along with me everywhere. So lots of bright colored things. I've definitely kind of slid into, like, I like to knit the brights, you know, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. But I also like to wear bright colors, and so it's really been fun. I am really excited for this to be done. I think that when it is done, and I'm happy with the finishing, and it's just like kind of tailored to me, it will be something that I will wear a lot because it's definitely very soft and cozy. So what are some other things that I've got going on? I've got all these like yarn hobbies, these stitching hobbies. Sally's stitching, right? But I've also been enjoying just some other stuff. I mentioned a couple episodes ago that I was really into Legos, and so I have built some Legos. Let me see if I can move this. I ended up building Tales of the Space Age and then mounting it on my wall. No, that's not gonna work. I will do like a little insert where I take like a close-up shot. But anyway, they're right above me and they are really cute. I put these little vignettes on the wall. There's actually a Lego brick that's like a wall hanging brick, so you can just pound a nail into the wall and then stick them right up there. And then I reinforced with some picture hanging Velcro because of my cat and my kids. But they're very cute and I think they're a lot of fun. I have a couple other small builds to build, and then I'm kind of debating on if I want to do a Christmas build this year. I like to buy, like, they have this series called Winter Village that comes out every year. I did not get last year's. It was like an alpine ski lodge. And it does get harder to display them. Like, I have like all of them since like they started making them, and so that's like 20 sets at this point. Plus I have the Home Alone house, and so like my Christmas decoration can get very Lego centric, like, you know, and honestly, my cat is really mean about the Legos. Like, she likes to knock them down, and then I'm like rebuilding Legos. And so I'm not sure what I will do with that, but I think that'll be fun to like kind of get into it. Legos are really fun because they are just something that is kind of peaceful. It's a good Sunday rainy day thing to do, you know. If I put a block in the wrong spot, I can, you know, undo it, redo it, you know, and just, you know, it's kind of fun. It's like, it tickles my brain in a way I like, which is good. The other thing that I've been really enjoying is adding to my vintage collection. Now, I've mentioned in the past, I like to collect vintage kitchenware, and then also like mid-century modern glass, like by companies like Blanco and Viking Glass. And I've added some really cool things, and then I wanted to show you. The first thing I did was I got on eBay like this really cool set of mugs. I have a whole little rainbow of these. Now, these were made by a company called Fire King. They're called Glamolite. And so the top of this mug is just like regular milk glass. But they like dipped the bottom with this like sparkly, rubbery coating. And you can see it's like aged with time. This one is my favorite. It's like a really pretty like bottle green. So I ended up, like, I had 3 of these that I had found like in various places, like, and then I have an alert set up on eBay that like just like tells me when people put stuff up for sale. And someone had like a set of 6 of these for, you know, like a really nice like starting bid price. And I was like, I'll just bid it and I'll try. And I won at my starting bid. And so I was really excited. And they just arrived last week. Now I have a full rainbow of Glamolite mugs, which is my thing. I love collecting like vintage rainbows, like one of every color. So, and that's what I've been doing with these salt and pepper shakers. I have them kind of tucked under me right here. But when I went to the 141 Pep Rally this summer, there is an antique mall that's really close to the venue, only about a mile away, called the Williamston Antique Mall. And I had a lot of fun just kind of wandering around, you know, and looking at stuff. I didn't really buy much, but one thing I did buy that day is a set of these salt and pepper shakers. Now these are by a company called Gemco, and they made a lot of like salt and pepper shakers. This is like their almond shaped one. I looked at the tops of these. I think these are actually both salt shakers because the pepper shaker usually just has like one hole on the top that's a lot bigger and like this like kind of like clay insert thing. But these were sold together as a set, and I was like, wow, I wonder what other colors these little caps come in. And I found out that they come in a lot of colors. And so I've just been hunting these. I've got this really cool like green and this blue. Do you know what they remind me of? They remind me of like the food coloring bottles from when I was a kid. You know, like those little tiny, like, I don't think they sell them anymore. I think people do gel coloring now. But I just think they're really fun and they're really easy to find. If you look online, a lot of times you can get these for like $2 or $3 and they just make my rainbow heart happy. And so I collected a bunch of those. I just got a black and a white set last week. And so I'll just kind of keep my eye out and fill in with other colors. I'd really like to get like a different kind of blue. I've got this blue and I've got like a Delphite blue, but I think a cobalt blue would be really cool to find. And then, you know, they make like seasonal ones, like there's Christmas shakers. There's a lot of other ones too. But it's just something that's kind of like a little collection, a little rainbow collection. So someday what I'll do is I'll walk through and I'll show you all the different rainbow, like vintage kitchen things I've collected because there are a lot of fun colors. It's very hard to get purple vintage anything. Like I don't have a purple salt and pepper shaker. I would love that. Or a purple Glamolite mug. But you know, the rest of the spectrum, there's just a lot. And it just really is satisfying to me to see all my little rainbow stuff lined up in rainbow order. So bringing me all sorts of joy. Let me go put these away and then we'll wrap up for the day. Okay, so we talked today a lot about joy and just finding your joy in the little things that you do every day and the hobbies that you choose. You know, I talked a lot about things that make me happy, you know, like finishing things, collecting rainbows, getting little by little progress, kind of like pushing away the overwhelming stuff until you're ready to deal with it, and being part of a community. And that's one thing that I really like about having this Flosstube channel is feeling like I'm part of a community, interacting with other Flosstubers, reading the comments that you leave me and, you know, trying to comment back. I know I was like running a lot later than I normally do with the last little round of comments. So sorry guys, I read and I appreciate each one as I get them. Technical challenges, mixing up new hobbies. There are so many things you can do. I also am a big believer in celebrating small successes. And so I'll tell you a little bit about some successes. And honestly, I've been thinking a lot about this because to be honest, I've been feeling a little sad the last couple days. The time just changed yesterday. And even though I'm like, oh yeah, the time will change, it'll be great. We'll have daylight later again. Or no, daylight earlier again. It's been like really a slog, and it doesn't help that it's been like really rainy today. I've had my window open and it's been nice to hear the sounds, but it's just dark. I feel like it's like the darkness has fallen, and my son has not been doing well with it. He is very sensitive to routine changes because he is autistic, and so we had a bummer weekend with that, and that was hard. Things that helped me were organizing some of my family spaces. I redid my linen closet and I pulled out some things that our family isn't using anymore. Like we had gotten rid of the fitted sheet, but we still had the top sheet, and my kids don't even use top sheets because they're like Gen Z, and Gen Z doesn't use top sheets. And so I got rid of those. You know, I had just stuff tucked away that didn't belong in that closet. Same with my like cleaning cupboard that's under the sink. It's not a very glamorous space, but I folded the heck out of all my cleaning cloths, and I had like a little bin that like I was using for dish soap or something, and it like just looked so cute, and it's actually motivated me to like get those cleaning cloths out more often. And so that's something that, you know, is fun. Dinner prep, getting like household chores done, being part of the Make Your Bed Club. You know, like these are all little things that are making me feel happier and just bringing me a little more joy through the day, even though it like front loads my day. Like I usually spend the first hour after the kids go to school, like just kind of running around and doing all this chore stuff, you know, until I can settle in and I can start thinking about the hobby stuff that I want to do. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that I get to, you know, be home and kind of plan my own day and just kind of live this like kind of free season, you know, where when the kids are away, mommy is playing, but it comes at a price. The price is that you know, I have a kid with a very profound disability, and someday he will be too old for school and he'll be home with me. And that is very scary, you know, like the idea of like what the future will bring. And I think that we are all a little afraid of the future. I'll tell you something that I did this weekend that was fun. I went to a political rally. Hey, election day is tomorrow. By the time I get this out, it'll probably be like voting will be pretty much done at this point. I voted a couple weeks ago. But this was for a local candidate. Her name is Kristen McDonald Rivet, and I really like her. She used to be the CEO of our community center here in town, and so I knew her because there was a daycare that they had for disabled children that you know, my son was enrolled in, and you know, I was just so appreciative of being able to have a daycare option for him, you know, at that time, because I wanted him to like get used to having like a full day of school, you know, before he was like school age. There's a local disability advocacy group that I participate in. It's called 1 in 6 Michigan, because 1 in 6 people will be disabled by, you know, at some point in their life. And we did this thing last year where we invited a lot of our local representatives, like our state senator, our state house representative, you know, our like federal, you know, leaders, like our, you know, actual senators for the, you know, federal government, and, you know, Congress people. We were inviting them to parenting listening sessions because there are a lot of like state and federal issues that affect families of people who are disabled, like how caregiver support works. You can't have direct payments for caregivers if that caregiver is like a family member. Like, and so people that have like long-term care needs need to hire outside of their family. And so basically what happens is these family members who like probably know their child's needs the best have to go out and work to pay someone to come in that you have to entrust your child's care to. And that's, I think that we need to make changes to that. And so, and there are a lot of things that just like, if we make little changes, you know, they would just serve these families a lot better, you know, because it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people that are affected by these issues. And so we invited all of these different leaders in our community to do like parenting listening sessions. And the only one who accepted the invitation is Kristen McDonald Rivet. And that really impressed me. She just was there to listen. She talked a little bit about things that they have done in our state legislature, you know, to try to ease the burden on these families. And I think it's really important that you vote for people who not only share your values, but are willing to like give you a seat at the table to listen to you. And that made a big impact on me. And so this weekend she had a rally because she is currently our state, she's our state senator, and now she's running for our federal like House of Representatives because our current congressperson is retiring, Dan Kildee. And I am just like so excited that I was able to go to her event. It was held in a public park here in Midland, and guess what? There was a special guest, and that special guest was Pete Buttigieg, who lives here in Michigan, who ran for president in 2020, and who I just really have a lot of admiration for. And so it was really inspiring to be there to support Kristen McDonald Rivet. But then also I got to shake Pete Buttigieg's hand, and I don't want to be a fangirl, but I was a little bit of a fangirl, and I kind of like wish that I had like something prepared. I didn't expect to be able to walk right up to him and shake his hand. He had like Secret Service or some sort of private security there. It was like a big deal. There was a little motorcade when he came, and he just had like a wonderful speech. It's on his Twitter if you like want to go to like his Twitter account and see. He posted it yesterday. I don't want to like steal a clip from it because I don't know about copyright, but anyway, it brought me a lot of joy in a time of great uncertainty to be able to support a local person who I believe in, who I think that will represent my congressional district well. And then just kind of gave me a lot of hope for whatever happens in this next election. I think a lot of people are scared, and fear robs us of our joy. All you can do is just lean into the things that make you happy and live your values. So if you have something that is kind of niggling and you feel like, boy, it is just not right, this doesn't sit right with me, you need to find a way to change it. And if you're an eligible person, you need to vote. If you haven't already. That was a funny thing. Pete Buttigieg asked the crowd who had voted, and like I think 99% of people raised their hands, because we have early voting here in Michigan, and we also have like no reason absent ballots. I have an absentee ballot because I have a disabled kid who is very, very difficult to take to the polls. He's just like, he's more than a handful. He's an armful. That's what they say. And we need to do more. We need to have more opportunities to take him in public spaces. But the polling location in a tense election is not the place to go. So I voted by absent ballot, and my husband did too. Anyone in Michigan who's eligible to vote can do that. And so I'm so excited to see that everyone is exercising that right. I think the more eligible voters that vote, the better. I think that it is way more clear. Like the outcome of the election is more clear if we have more participation. I truly believe that we have fair and we have safe elections in this country. And I'm optimistic. I'm leaning into my joy in a time that I think a lot of people are scared. And I encourage you to do that too. Sorry to get political. I mean, I know that sometimes can alienate people. Just please know that I think that there are a lot of people that care deeply about their community, and I'm one of them, and I think that a lot of you are too. And I love you, and we got this, right? So I am gonna let you go now. I really enjoyed spending some time with you. If you liked what you see, I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel and also like this video. It does help me in the algorithm. It's funny, every time I post this video, I get to see a lot of Flosstube channels that I've never seen before get suggested to me. And a lot of them will be like instant successes, like 10,000 views. Like there's one called Home on the Ridge who started kind of right before Halloween, and she is doing phenomenally, and I really am enjoying her content. You know, and then there are other people that kind of like make excellent content, and then like no one gets to see it. So I think that this liking and subscribing thing is the key to it, and I would appreciate it, you know, because I want to see more stuff that's like this too. So anyway, I hope that you have a great rest of your week. I will try to, you know, post again in a couple weeks, and we'll see how much I've stitched between now and then. So take care, friends. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.